Imagine seeing an island appear through the fog. But it does not look natural. No beaches. No forests. No peaceful little houses. Just walls. Concrete. Dark windows. And buildings packed so tightly together that, from a distance, the island looks less like a town and more like something built for war. This is Hashima Island, a tiny piece of land off the coast of Nagasaki, Japan. It is also known as Gunkanjima, Battleship Island. And once you see it from the sea, the name makes sense. The seawalls form a hard gray edge around the island. Behind them rise abandoned apartment blocks, broken roofs, empty corridors, rooms open to the weather. Everything looks dead, but this place was not always dead. That is what makes Hashima disturbing. Because there was a time when this tiny island was so crowded that thousands of people were living almost on top of one another. Children filled the schools. Families slept inside the concrete towers. Workers disappeared beneath the island every morning. Shops opened. Doctors treated patients. Laundry hung outside apartments. Voices filled the stairwells. And somewhere beneath all of it, men were digging for coal under the sea. Then, in 1974, the mine closed. And within only a few months, every resident was gone. Not a few families. Not half the population. Everyone. And suddenly, one of the most crowded places imaginable became silent. So what happened here? And why did anyone build a city like this in the middle of the ocean? To understand that, you have to understand the thing that created Hashima. Coal. The island itself was small. Almost impossibly small for the community that would eventually live there. But beneath the surrounding seabed were valuable coal deposits. Mitsubishi acquired the mine in 1890. Mining expanded. Workers were needed. Then more workers. Then families. Then schools. Then shops. Then medical facilities. But there was a problem. There was almost nowhere to build. The ocean surrounded everything. The island could not simply spread outward like a normal town. So Hashima did something else. It went upward. Concrete buildings began rising from the island. One of the most important appeared in 1916. Building number 30. It became Japan's first concrete high-rise apartment building. Eventually, it reached 7 floors. Inside were around 140 housing units. And that was only the beginning. More concrete followed. More apartments. More staircases. More narrow corridors. More families packed into less space. Hashima slowly transformed into something strange. A vertical mining city. Below the ground, coal. Above the ground, people. And around everything, the sea. But the ocean was not just scenery. It was a threat. Hashima was exposed to storms and powerful typhoons. Huge waves could smash directly into the seawalls. The buildings facing the ocean became part of the island's protection. Heavy concrete, small windows, long corridors, structures designed to survive punishment from the sea. Imagine living there during a violent storm. The wind screaming outside, waves crashing against the walls, concrete shaking, children inside apartments while the ocean explodes only meters away. And then the storm passes. The mine opens again. The workers go back underground. Life continues. Year after year, more people arrived, until eventually, there was almost no empty space left. By 1959, Hashima had reached a population of 5,267 people. More than 5,000 people living on a tiny island of concrete. At the time, it reached an extraordinary level of population density. And when you look at the ruins now, that fact feels impossible. Every empty room had a purpose. Every broken window looked out from somebody's home. Every staircase once carried people rushing to work or school. Every rooftop once had life on it. The island was not abandoned because nobody wanted to be there. For many families, it was home. Children were born there. Friendships formed there. People grew up surrounded by concrete and ocean and thought nothing unusual about it. But Hashima had one weakness. One thing almost everything depended on. Coal. Coal. And Japan was changing. Oil was becoming more important. Coal was losing its place. Mines began facing closure. And Hashima had nowhere else to turn. Because without the mine, what was this city? There was no large independent economy. No farmland. No surrounding suburbs. No normal city connected by roads. Hashima existed because of the coal beneath it. Take that away, and the entire island suddenly becomes a question. Then came January of 1974. The mine closed, and that was the moment the clock started. At first, the buildings were still full. The school still stood. The hospital was still there. Neighbors were still living beside one another. But everybody knew something had changed permanently. There was no reason to pretend. The jobs were gone. The future was gone. So people began leaving. One family packed their things. Then another. Then another. Apartments that had once been difficult to find suddenly became empty. A hallway that had once been loud became quiet. A classroom lost students. A shop lost customers. Someone closed a door for the last time and never came back. Try to imagine living there during those final weeks. Every morning there are fewer people. You walk through a building and notice more doors closed. A friend tells you their family is leaving tomorrow. Another neighbor disappears the following week. The island does not collapse all at once. It empties. Slowly enough for everyone to feel it, but fast enough to be terrifying. January. The mine closes. February. Families leave. March. More apartments go dark. Then April arrives, and Hashima is empty. Zero residents. Only 15 years earlier, more than 5,000 people lived there. Now there was nobody. Imagine being one of the last people on the boat. The engine starts. You move away from the dock. The seawalls shrink behind you. You can still see the apartment block where you lived. You can still see the school, the staircases, the rooftops, the places where people laughed, argued, worked, grew up. Nothing has physically disappeared yet, but everyone who made those places matter is leaving. And then the boat keeps moving, until Hashima becomes nothing more than a gray shape behind you. That was the end of the city. No explosion destroyed it. No earthquake erased it. No mysterious disaster forced everyone to flee in the middle of the night. The truth was colder than that. Hashima had been built around one purpose. When that purpose died, the city died with it. And once the people were gone, the ocean began finishing the job. No residents were there to repair roofs. No workers replaced broken windows. Nobody stopped water entering the rooms. Nobody cleaned the corridors. Nobody protected the concrete. Rain came inside. Salt covered everything. Metal rusted. Walls cracked. Typhoons returned. Again. And again. And again. Rooms that once held families became exposed to the sky. Ceilings collapsed. Windows disappeared. Staircases began leading to damaged floors. Plants pushed through cracks. The sea attacked the island from every direction. Year after year, Hashima became less like a city and more like a corpse. But the empty buildings are not the darkest part of this story, because before the island was abandoned, Hashima had already experienced another kind of darkness. During Japan's wartime industrial mobilization, Korean workers and others were brought to industrial sites connected to the mining system. The history of those workers remains an important and painful part of the island's story. Some were brought against their will. Some were forced to work under harsh conditions. And later, international heritage discussions criticized how completely this suffering had been explained to visitors. That matters. Because abandoned places are easy to romanticize, people see broken windows, dark corridors, collapsed buildings, and they think only about mystery. But real people lived here. Real people worked here. And not everyone experienced Hashima in the same way. For some, it was childhood, family, home. For others, it was dangerous labor, control, hardship, and suffering. That history never disappeared just because the buildings became empty. After the last residents left, Hashima remained abandoned for decades. No families returned. No new generation moved in. The island simply sat there. Storm after storm. Winter after winter. The concrete slowly decaying in full view of the mainland. From far away, its silhouette still looked like a battleship. But this battleship was going nowhere. Eventually, controlled visits returned. Public tours began in 2009. But visitors cannot simply wander wherever they want. Many structures are unstable. Some buildings are too dangerous to enter. So people stand behind barriers, looking into a city that once held thousands. That creates a strange feeling. You are close enough to see the rooms, but too late to know them. Close enough to imagine the families, but decades too late to hear their voices. And Hashima is still changing. The buildings continue deteriorating. Concrete falls. Walls weaken. Sections disappear. Every year, the ocean takes a little more. One day, some of these buildings may no longer exist at all. And that is what makes Hashima feel darker than many abandoned places. Because it is not frozen in time. It is still dying. Very slowly. Right in front of us. A city normally feels permanent. We build apartments because people need homes. Schools because children will keep coming. Hospitals because communities will continue. Shops because tomorrow there will still be customers. But Hashima proves how quickly that illusion can disappear. At its peak, the island had a problem almost every city would recognize. Too many people. Not enough space. Then only a few years later, there was nobody left. Every apartment became unnecessary. Every classroom became empty. Every hospital room became silent. Every corridor stopped leading anywhere important. So maybe the real mystery of Hashima is not where everybody went. We know why they left. The mine closed. The jobs disappeared. The community moved away. The deeper mystery is this: how can a place feel permanent until one day it suddenly isn't? How can thousands of lives fill every corner of an island and then vanish so quickly that the buildings are left standing behind them? Look at Hashima today. A window with no glass, a staircase covered in debris, a classroom exposed to the wind, a doorway leading into darkness. The physical city survived, but the thing that made it alive did not. And maybe that is why the island feels so unsettling, because Hashima does not look destroyed. It looks abandoned in the middle of a sentence, like everyone should still be there, like someone should turn on a light, like a door should open, like footsteps should come down one of those corridors. But they never do. More than 5,000 people once called this tiny island home. Then the mine closed in January of 1974. And by April, there was nobody left. The buildings remained. The seawalls remained. The school remained. The apartments remained. But the people were gone. And more than half a century later, Hashima is still sitting in the sea. Empty, dark, silent, and slowly being swallowed by time.